6 games into the first set on Stadio Centrale, Leolia Jeanjean is playing with the calmness of someone who belongs here, and Jasmine Paolini, home crowd, home clay, world number 8, is not yet in control. That is not a narrative spin. That is the factual shape of this match's opening hour. I want you to hold that image because it is the lens through which this entire performance needs to be evaluated. Paolini lost that first set 6-7 in a tiebreak that reached 7-4. She won 3 points in that tiebreak, three on Stadio Centrale against a qualifier ranked 121st in the world. If that does not immediately grab your attention, I don't know what will. And here's what I think gets lost in the clean scoreline of 6-7, 6-2, 6-4. The story is not that Paolini eventually won. The story is how close she came to not winning at all and what she actually did to turn the match completely on its head. Because I've been watching the tape on this match, and the shift between set 1 and set 2 is not just tactical, it's physical, it's positional. And it tells you everything about where Paolini's clay court game currently sits heading deeper into the Rome draw. Now, here's the bit that actually bothers me when I see early round coverage of a match like this. Everyone looks at the second set, 6-2, dominant, clean, and they call it a routine correction. It was not routine. Jeanjean is not a routine opponent. She came through qualifying. She has been on courts in Rome for days before this match even began, accumulating rhythm, accumulating red clay feel. Qualifiers in WTA 1000 draws are dangerous precisely because of that. They arrive battle tested. They have nothing to lose, and they play that way. Look at the way Paolini was handling Jeanjean's serve in the early games of that first set. She was sitting a half step too deep, giving ground on the return. Jeanjean is not a power server, but she has a deceptive wide delivery on the deuce side that pulls the returner out of position, and Paolini was not reading it cleanly in those first 3 service games. The returns were going back mid-court, passive, inviting Jeanjean to dictate with her forehand. On clay, that is a structural problem. If you are giving a player with a functioning topspin forehand free mid-court balls, she will construct the point. Jeanjean did exactly that repeatedly. The first set lasted 68 minutes. That is not a first set number that gives a seeded player confidence. It signals that the match has taken root as a physical contest, that the clay has slowed everything down, and that the mental ledger is now in question. Paolini has been here before. She knows these moments. But I was watching her body language between points in the late games of that first set, and she was working to reset. You could see it in the towel ritual, in the bounce of the ball before serve, in the way she was taking an extra breath on the baseline before initiating, and then the tie break. At 4-all, Paolini had a second serve at a critical juncture, and Jeanjean stepped around it and hit an inside-out forehand winner that essentially sealed the set. That is a significant moment. Not because Jeanjean won the point, because of what it communicated. She was not scared of the moment. She was hunting it. And seeded players at WTA 1000 events are not used to qualifiers hunting in tie breaks like that. The second set, though, I was looking at the tape and noticed something shift in Paulini's return position almost immediately. She stepped a full foot inside the baseline. She started taking the ball earlier, cutting off Jeanjean's wide serve before it could fully open the court. The return depth improved. Suddenly, the rallies were starting on Paulini's terms, not Jeanjean's. And on red clay, when you control the rally architecture from the second shot, you control the score line. The second set was done in 44 minutes, 6-2. That is a 24-minute swing per set against the same opponent on the same surface. That is not fitness. That is adjustment, sharp, experienced tactical adjustment. Here's the thing about Jasmine Paolini that I think the casual viewer misunderstands. She is not a baseline grinder in the traditional mold. She does not win through attrition the way, say, a classic Spanish clay courter does. She wins through discomfort, through the angles, through the high kick serve that sits up awkwardly for taller opponents, through her ability to absorb pace and redirect it at an angle that stretches the court wider than her opponent expected. Her unforced error count needs to stay below 25 on clay for her best tennis to show up. When she's in the 30s, she's fighting herself as much as the opponent. In the first set against Jeanjean, I'd estimate she was in that danger zone. In the second, she cleaned up. The first strike tennis, coming in on shorter balls, finishing at the net, was crisper. Her court coverage, which is genuinely elite for her height and frame, started paying dividends in the wide angles she was defending. Jeanjean could not find the same clean passing lanes she had in set 1. The third set is the set that tells you the most about who Paolini is as a competitor right now. It lasted 64 minutes, nearly as long as the first. Jeanjean did not collapse. She kept the baseline pressure on, kept the forehand cross court honest, kept the margins tight. The break that decided the set did not come early. It came late, and it came because Paolini earned it through patience, through staying aggressive on her second serve, using that high kicking delivery to force Jeanjean away from her preferred forehand strike zone, and through refusing to blink when the scoreline stayed level deep into the set. If you're a purist, you're going to hate this, but I'll say it plainly. A loss there would have been defensible. Jean-Jean played well enough to win. The margin was that fine. 3 sets, nearly 3 hours, 18 games to 13 in total. This is not a comfortable win. It is a character win. And on the clay swing, character wins matter enormously because they compound. They build the physical and mental conditioning that makes a player better in week 2 than week 1. Now, here's the bit that actually matters for what comes next. Paolini has history on this surface that nobody in the current narrative is talking about enough. Rome's red clay is not unfamiliar territory for her. She has navigated deep draws here before. She understands that Stadio Centrale plays slower and heavier in the afternoon humidity, and she adjusts her topspin, RPM, and rally length accordingly. That's not instinct. That's knowledge earned over seasons. What the Rome draw does to a player like Paolini is fascinating to watch because the seedings mean very little by the round of 16. The clay neutralizes the pace of bigger hitters. It rewards the players who can sustain rally intensity without breaking down mechanically, and it absolutely punishes anyone whose footwork gets lazy. Paolini's footwork in the third set was excellent. Small, quick adjustment steps getting her into position early, especially on the backhand side where her two-handed stability off the high ball is one of her underappreciated assets. Going forward in this draw, the questions I'm asking are specific. Can she maintain first serve percentage above 62% against players with more aggressive return games? Will her breakpoint conversion hold up when the pressure concentrates in late sets? She converted one critical break in the third set today. Clean, efficient, decisive. But she will face opponents who defend breakpoints with significantly more firepower than Jeanjean was able to apply. The Rome draw in its second week is going to demand consistency, physical endurance across back to back matches, and the mental fortitude to absorb slow starts like the one she had today. If the Paulini of sets 2 and 3 shows up from the first game against her next opponent, she is dangerous in this tournament, genuinely dangerous. Not as an outside bet, as a legitimate threat. And to the rest of the Rome field, the top seeds, the informed players, anyone moving through this draw without a blemish, I want you to note something. A player who can recover from dropping a set in a 7-4 tiebreak, reset her game architecture in 44 minutes, and grind out a third set win in nearly a full hour against a battle-ready qualifier is not a player you want to meet on a slow afternoon when the clay is heavy and the crowd is loud in her name. Jasmine Paolini is at home, on her clay, in her city, and she is not finished yet.